saying essentially what you're going to talk about is this dynamic knowledge repository, and browsing and editing. This today, we're really getting these things in co-evolved so that with an ordinary web browser, you can start diving down more deeply into the environment we've been used to, or stay out in the web world like that. So capture and management repository and integrating the groupware is sort of a slant. But where did it start? Shared files, of course, but not for 1 minute did I think about that. I looked at that language aspect in that human system and said, there seems to me a very critical thing. As you work with concepts in your mind, they're structured and related, etc. A lot of explicits and some associative, yes. But when you externalize those concepts, you give them real symbols in your mind and work with them. And then when you externalize that, that's the real way in which you share with people and work, either verbally or on writing. So what can you do that's new for Candidate? Well, gee, you can try getting it structure so it sort of tries to map better the structure of the concepts in your mind. So it's more than just not linear, it's structured, and the relationships between with a lot of concepts can have explicit relationships. And you can interlink them by cross-citing. Those are two separate kinds of aspects of it. Also, you said, oh, I can look for lots of different views once I have it in there. The computer can help me put it in there, can help me view it. Not only move around there, but view it. So we generated quite a few optional views. One of the things we said, oh, the view of looking at a page is literally the last thing we want to do. That's before we publish or something like that. When you're working online, we don't want to bother with pages, something like that. So that's something where we right away departed from the rest of the world. WYSIWYG, we laughed at it. We said later on, the last thing you want to do is make it look like a piece of paper when if you're going to go print it. But if you're going to really use it online, there are a lot of things about pages and all that get in your way of what you can do. And the browsing, shared screen was an important thing from the very beginning, that I want to be able to work with my colleagues. From the very first concept, that was the way. So we built that sort of thing into it. So we were providing integrated email, in which these were the hyper objects that could interlink between email and to the shared file. And at the same time, another thing which is a very significant sort of part of our work, which has I don't see it used yet out there, but just made an immense difference in how the dynamics of the dialogue go on in there, that when you submit a document to this software and administrative operations system called the journal, it would get cataloged. You would do it in a way similar to launching an email with more new fields that could go into the catalog, and instead of sending the content in a message, you could just put a link to some other file, and that would get cataloged. And then the system guaranteed that any time ever more you access that by a link or any other way, you were guaranteed you'd get what the author published on that time. And the publication was not just a year like they are now, but a day and a minute down there, because a few minutes later somebody could have put a response in that cited yours, etc. So the dynamics of all of that for managing dialogue flow was just terrifically. When you watch email in a lot of conference things out there and you realize you can't do that in there, anyway, it's very significant difference to that. Well, I terminate. We can literally spend hours in all of this, and if I want to be any kind of a friend of Ed Landy Van Dam's in the future, I'd better get through. But gee, what's it worth, Andy? The one thing that really helped me a lot in trying to portray to people what I sense about all this is to take those two major dimensions of the augmentation system and make it like a frontier. You have to realize that each of these dimensions in turn is a multidimensional vector, and to array that along a vector line such that you can say that's increasing system improvement would be hard to put done, but just picture it that way. And we can picture today out here some frontier boundary, but we're pretty sure in 20 years there'll be technologies available to harness that are way beyond that. But similarly, people are beginning to realize about the process re-engineering that's potentially available, the new skills, the new roles, etc., that can go on the organizations. Those all make something in this vector. Our organizations are all clustered down here now. The product people are, maybe the most of them are out here someplace, close to the edge of what organizations can use. But they're not going to make things that organizations can't use yet. So what is an organization? If somebody brought a technology that was way out here that could really provide really new changes, would there be any market for it? They wouldn't picture any. There's no market pull from the large user organizations, that clusters or communities that could benefit by this new collective capability. They don't know, they don't have the experience to know what they want to yet, because this is an unexplored frontier. Exploration has got to be more than just people writing papers or a few graduate students trying something. To explore it, you really have to put up a group of people that's going to live that way, to do heavy knowledge work that's representative of what it's going to be like when they're part of a larger collective organization. And it's like saying we need outposts out there. Well, you could put one out there now that used the forefront of what technology and the product line could cause, or somebody could bring out some brand new technology and sort of say you can harness that in the most advanced process engineering organization. But where's this as a frontier? And where's this? And where's the responsibility lie in our society for exploring that frontier? Enough so any kind of interested organization says, God, we've got to get out there, because if we don't, the ones who do are going to win. See? That's true for a country too. So who's going to do the exploring? Because it's very different from a group of people that can make an exploratory technology and demonstrate it. This is where you've got to have people who've adopted their learning and working basis in there, that's in a way that's like, he says, oh, that's representative enough of how my whole organization work, or some significant part of it. I'll move one department or one division or something out there now. All right, you have to realize that the cost of moving vertically in this space is much higher than moving horizontally. And that if the horizontal thing keeps plugging out there and forces organizations to zigzag out here, that's extremely expensive. So you say, industry and the product people would never do that, would they? Well, you know, the personal computer field was about 10 years old before they started doing anything significant with the networks. And yet when they began 11, 12 years ago, it was clear there'd been 11, 12, 13 years of experience with the ARPANET, where it's very clear that anybody who's going to really work significantly at an interactive terminal wants to be connected. And yet there was no provision for it. In fact, it was rejected very adamantly by, sort of like the guy that went around and says, oh, Jesus, none of the girls in this county want to get married. How do you know? I asked them. So it's sort of like, I asked these guys, how about connecting? And I'd get very flat pictures that that's not what you want to do. Well, anyway, that's 10 years of lost opportunity for our society to start learning how to harness all this, thinking about it, etc. So we've got to do better. And who? So there's several possibilities. You know, cooperative, collective, end-user organizations or communities that get together to start investing in it. A government role could be in there too. A government role could be there to say, let's, if we get communities of users that say, hey, enough of us are significant going to want to set up an outpost, that they could start underwriting some of the technology here that could do that for that group, if they get the feedback, so they co-evolve together. Because there are endless places in the military and the rest of government where you could apply much improved collective capability. So that's the end of my presentation for all this. And I really kept wishing now, more than ever, that we had cans, three half-hour cans of 16mm film are what resulted from that presentation in '68. And I really wish I hadn't known that Bush was still alive and active, and I would have sent that to him, because it could have made a lot of difference, at least for me, to get connected with him like that. So great deal of respect for what he did, etc. And I wish I hadn't had to go off somehow on sort of a lone vector of this. Okay, that's it, Andy. We still friends? Keep that on.
Mr. Modesty, as always.